What's going on, gamers? I've got a really fun build for you guys to try. This is a guide for my Cinder Strike Blade Bomber. Now, this build is absolutely not a meta build, and you will need to do a lot of gear farming to see it fully come online. But the grind is what it's all about, so let's get started. Alright, what is the build? Well, it's basically a Cinder Strike melee build, but we will be doing very little melee damage. And that's because Cinder Strike is simply a tool used to proc things like burning daggers, explosive traps, and the main damage dealer, acid flasks, all while massively buffing all of our damage at the same time. We also want to spec into the Falconer Mastery to take advantage of our trusty little bird companion, because he will be dropping acid flasks on top of enemies as well. And because this build heavily focuses on proccing throwing attacks, the scaling of this build will be entirely based around throwing damage and fire damage. Now that you know what the build is about, let's go over the skills you need to specialize to make it all come together. Cinder Strike, Smoke Bomb, Explosive Trap, Acid Flask, and Falconry are the 5 skills that make up the build. Let's start with the Cinder Strike skill tree, which is the fuel that keeps the fire going. I've tried a lot of different setups with this skill specifically, and this is the most effective result for the most optimal damage. You should start by branching up to Burning Dagger procs, and then make your way down to the bottom right to pick up Oil Coating, which massively buffs all of the fire damage we deal by applying a stacking buff every time we attack. Follow this up with Fire Penetration and some extra throwing fire damage. Lastly, we grab a chunky amount of attack speed on the far left with the Eagerness node to help edge out a few more stacks of Oil Coating, which helps our damage a lot. Moving over to Smoke Bomb, this is the bread and butter of our movement. It is much more effective for moving around than Shift, and it feels a lot smoother. On top of that, we squeeze out a lot of utility with offensive and defensive buffs. To start, we want to of course branch down and pick up Cloaked Incursion to transform Smoke Bomb into a movement ability. After that, we want to grab the nodes on the left side. Smoke Blades for some extra damage, Blood Bandit for extra health leech which helps our survivability, and also grab Umbral Assault so that shadows spawn inside the Smoke Bomb and throw some extra acid flasks for huge damage. And to finish off the tree, we want to just grab Shrouded in Darkness for some extra defensive capabilities. Now let's take a look at Explosive Trap. This is the spark that ignites all of our damage. Explosive Trap itself hits for peanuts, but what makes this skill such an important piece to the puzzle is the ability to proc Acid Flask with Explosive Trap. This is made possible with the node Instrument of the Alchemist. By grabbing Trap Sprinkler and Automated Bombardment, we automatically drop an Explosive Trap when the previous Explosive Trap detonates, resulting in dropping an Acid Flask as well. Now, in order to fully automate this with Cinder Strike so that we don't need to directly use Explosive Trap, we have to pick up the Hold This node in the top left of the skill tree. This way, anytime we hit an enemy with Cinder Strike, a trap will be attached, and this will start the chain of procs, which results in a big Acid Flask drop. To finish off the tree, we take Adaptive Fuse at the bottom for instant explosions on small enemies, followed by Gelcore's Blueprint to the right for some extra mana efficiency, and then Sky Signal to give the Falcon Pet a bit more juice. Next up is Acid Flask, and of course this is the main damage source of the build. So we simply want to make sure we convert Acid Flask to fire with Explosive Flask, and then grab as many damage nodes as possible. Firebomb Cocktail for huge flat damage, and follow this up by grabbing Piercing Debris for massive crits. This will also help us achieve 100% crit chance with Acid Flask. Make sure to also slam 4 points into the Corrosive node on the left for even more damage. Lastly, you can divvy up the rest of the points where you see fit, prioritizing damage and area of effect. Lastly, we've got Falconry. The main priority here is to go straight to the left side of the tree and pick up Toxic Airdrop. Now our bird companion can join the madness and start dropping acid flasks from the sky. There's no need to worry about minion scaling either, because the acid flasks procced from the falcon scale with the player's stats and the acid flask skill tree. Next, you want to be sure to grab Flask Satchel for some extra charges and Parrotkin. This is essential for the highest damage because when we get high stacks of oil coating with Cinder Strike, we want to start dumping acid flasks by directly using the skill, and the bird will join in on the fun and start dropping acid flasks with us. Wake of Wings up at the top gives us a nice movement speed and attack speed buff, and the rest of the points are used at the bottom right of the tree to just give the falcon a bit more damage. When it comes to gear and stats, most of my gear is close and has been good enough to get me past 200 corruption, but a lot of the stats on my gear is not optimal. So to avoid confusion, I'm going to use the build planner I put together to showcase everything you need. A link to this planner will be in the video description as well. There is a total of 5 uniques needed for the full potential of this build, starting with the woven flesh body armor, which provides a beautiful 100% crit avoidance, and it is very helpful, especially in the early game. And the health leech here is a nice bonus as well. The LP stats you want are increased damage with a dagger and flat health increase. Foot of the Mountain boots gives us a massive defensive boost. A lot of the time we have to stand still to get Cinder Strike stacks, and these boots will convert all dodge rating to endurance threshold, giving us a full health pool of endurance and negating a ton of damage. LP stats you want are increased movement speed and dexterity. The most integral unique to the build is Traitor's Tongue, a unique dagger with +2 to all dexterity skills, but the important part is the increased crit chance when equipped in the offhand slot. Just to give you an idea of how strong this really is, you can see my crit chance is at 75%, and the dagger I'm about to put on has tier 6 crit chance with base crit chance implicit. But even with such a high crit roll, my crit chance drops to a whopping 57% without the Traitor's Tongue unique. So now you have an idea of just how perfect this fits into the build when it comes to maximizing our crit chance. The LP stats you want are critical strike multiplier and increased fire damage. Liraka's claw gloves complement the dagger with huge throwing crit multiplier and even some chance to apply poison on hit for a little extra damage. LP stats you want are flat throwing damage and dexterity. The last unique here is Pillager's Gold. While it's not the most important unique and you can certainly live without it, the sheer amount of leech it provides helps the survivability of the build a lot. The extra burning daggers is nice, and more damage to ignited enemies adds a fair bit of damage increase as well. LP stats you want are increased level of Cinder Strike, flat throwing damage, and flat health increase. The rest of the gear is straightforward. The helmet should be a dragon visage for implicit resistance and crit multi. The stats you want on your helmet are increased health, dodge rating, dexterity, and increased damage with daggers. The belt needs flat throwing damage, lots of increased health, and fire damage. Keep your eye out for the Spider Silk Sash base type for poison and cold resistance as well. For the amulet and rings, look for dodge rating, health increase, and enough crit chance to get you to 75%. The reason we don't want any more than 75% crit is because Acid Flask has a 5% base crit chance, plus another 20% through the skill tree. So 75% crit chance is actually 100% for Acid Flask, which is all we really need. And the last piece is the dagger. You want to look out for the side dagger base type for crit chance and dodge rating. For the stats, you want crit chance, crit multiplier, chance to ignite, and chance to slow on hit. Now moving on to idols, the setup here is very simple. Just make sure you slot in exactly 3 adorned idols with crit multiplier, increased damage with a dagger, and glancing blow chance with dodge rating. After those are slotted in, feel free to fill the rest of the slots in with idols that have increased health, dodge rating, and whatever resistances you need. Let's finish this off real quick with the core blessings needed. This build completely relies on blessings for your resistances, so just grab the resistances you need from each timeline. And make sure you also grab increased dodge rating from the Spirits of Fire timeline, and you're all set. Just a quick reminder, this entire build planner will be in the video description with all of the gear, skills, and passives included. Now I'm sure you don't want to listen to me mumble off the names of each passive node, so feel free to pause the video to follow the passive skill path I chose. Starting with the rogue passives. just make sure you grab Twin Blade here for the dual wield capability. Over in the Blade Dancer tree, I've got 20 points. This is important for taking advantage of the Dusk Shroud stacks for additional dodge rating and glancing blow chance. And then we have the Falconer passive tree, obviously has the bulk of my points at 61. I have tested a few different passive combinations and this is by far the most successful setup for the build. A lot of the passives here provide a ton of defensives like dodge rating, glancing blow chance, which we can easily overcap for more damage reduction, and a bunch of damage increase nodes as well. Alright, the final act, the skill rotation. With everything mostly automated through the skill trees, the build rotation is honestly pretty easy and laid back. Start off by using Smoke Bomb to engage from a distance if it's off cooldown, and just spam Cinder Strike to start building up stacks of oil coating to amp up all of our damage. The stack count gets to about 14 before starting to taper off. Once you come up to a rare enemy or a boss, start manually dumping acid flasks while maintaining your oil coating stacks. And our Falcon friend will essentially double the damage by mimicking our acid flask uses. And that's really about it. Every other skill is automated as we attack things, and we get to be the pyromaniac at the center of all the fiery destruction. This build has been a ton of fun, and I wish I could have had this video out a lot sooner for those of you that wanted a build for the start of Season 2. But the work season just got busy, and I really didn't have time to get a video together. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the build if you decide to give it a try. Oh, I've also got a simple loot filter to help you in your pursuit of finding loot, which will be down in the description right near the build planner. As always, thanks for chilling boys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!